Hi, and welcome to my channel. I thought for this week's reading vlog that I would concentrate on the women's long list. So the first book I'm going to be reading, and which I'm really excited for, is The Bandit Queens by Parini Shroff. It's a debut novel. It is about a woman named Gita whose husband disappeared 5 years ago, and everyone in her village believes that she killed him, and she lets them believe that, and how she navigates her way through a group of female friends as well as society. The next book I thought I would read would be The Dog of the North by Elizabeth Mackenzie. I'm going to be listening to this on audiobook, and the narrator is Catherine Luttrell. I believe this is a comedy of errors about a young woman who gets divorced, quits her job, sells her car, and moves to go help her grandparents, and then embarks on a trip. So I believe that these two books are on the lighter side of the women's long list. Personally, I picked The Bandit Queens as my personal shortlist pick and was disappointed that it didn't make it. I think that this is going to be a very fun read. I intentionally have not watched my favorite booktubers review this book so that my opinion would not be skewed. So let's get reading. I am halfway through The Bandit Queens, and I am really enjoying this book. It is, well, let's start off with plot. I think the plot is well constructed to the point where it can be a little bit predictable, but there are lots of believable twists and turns that are a lot of fun and that I didn't see coming. I think it's a really good examination of female friendship, and I think that friendship, whether it be male or female or mixed, I think is a very difficult thing to make last. And the friendship in this book has lasted a lifetime on and off. So it's interesting to see how she deals with that. The narrator is unreliable, which ticks a box for me. I also love the way that Harini Sharaf is able to show two different characters' perspectives on the same situation and make it believable. I think that's a really, really hard thing to do, for a reader to be able to look at Gita and say, I understand where she's coming from. And then to take a look at Solani in the exact same situation and say, I understand where they're coming from. And it makes their journey of friendship very, very plausible. I think that this is quite funny. I have laughed out loud at quite a few times, but it always goes back to the central theme of social injustice and being a woman in a man's world. And I'm not talking about in a man's world in North America, I'm talking about a man's world in India, which is a whole other level. It's very, very well balanced. It's very touching, and it's really taking me on a journey. One of the quotes that I think really sums this up, and I'm going to edit it so that there's no spoilers. She did not regret her actions. She resented being put in a position where those were her choices, violence or violation. She didn't want to be built to endure a long-suffering saint tossed by the winds of men. She wanted, for once, not to be handed the short end of the stick by a system that expected gratitude in return. Like, that's beautifully written. There is a main sentence that keeps echoing throughout the book that describes it very well. And it's something that Solani says to Gita, and she says, blank killed himself. He broke the contract first. When someone threatens your body, you have every right to protect yourself. Beautifully put. I think it's really, really hard to be funny about social injustice and rape and violence, but she does this so well. There is a quote on the back of the book by Christina Garcia that says that this is a rollicking mashup of adventure story, thriller, dark revenge, and comedy, an immensely enjoyable read. And I completely agree. So I can't wait to get to the end. Look what finally arrived. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. And I didn't realize until the end, where there's an author's note, that the Bandit Queen is actually an historical figure. So that makes me like it even more. I think that the dialogue is very well done, and there's a lot of dialogue in this book, but it never gets boring and it never gets old. The pacing is excellent. It is well balanced. I think it's very difficult to write a book that makes you laugh and makes you cry. So the way that she handles lighthearted moments and laugh out loud moments, and then pulls you back into the dark themes and the really awful things that happen in this book, is excellent. I cannot believe this is a debut novel. The characters are all fantastic. Even Bandit the dog, I adored. And I like what it says about female friendship and uh, sticking together in order to change things. And this book has great twists and turns in terms of plot. I couldn't put it down. So I am a little disappointed it didn't make the Women's Prize shortlist, but I will definitely be reading this author. I can't wait to get my hands on her next book. I hope that she's writing right now. So on to The Dog of the North. I'm halfway through listening to The Dog of the North, and I am not enjoying it nearly as much as I enjoyed The Bandit Queens. So I feel like the author has taken each of the characters and compiled as many quirky and eccentric characteristics, and then thrown those characters into an even more quirky and eccentric situations. And I don't find that the comedy works at all. I don't find that the characters are believable. I don't find that the situations that the characters are in are believable. Everything is just too absurd and too out there, too farcical to come off as plausible or real or funny. I'm also finding the main character, Penny, irritating. I'm fine with a character being weak as long as that character is working to better themselves. But I am halfway through this book. I'm 4.5 hours into a 9-hour book, so I think it's about 300 pages. So I'm 150 pages in, and Penny just keeps making the same mistakes over and over and over again, and just keeps getting into worse and worse situations with no attempt to resolve anything. I mean, she's homeless and she's dirty and she's not fed and everything is unraveling in front of her and she just can't do anything, and it's driving me crazy. And you know, maybe that's the sign of a good book, is that it is driving me crazy, but I'm really not liking it so far, but I will get to the end. That's my good girl. So let's just say I didn't enjoy this book. I didn't find that the comedy was very effective. I didn't find the characters believable, um, especially after reading The Bandit Queens and how precise that book was in terms of its pacing and how good the characters were and the light moments versus the dark moments. I just didn't enjoy The Dog of the North. Um, and I normally don't give spoilers, so if you don't want to know how this book ends, skip ahead to the loons. So here's the spoiler. When a character is this dysfunctional and throughout a 300-page book shows minimal improvement, having that dysfunctional character enter into a relationship does not work. It's ridiculous. And I hate when books think that there's going to be a happy ending because this person ends up with a man or a woman in a relationship. And relationships are tough. If you're already this level of dysfunctional, your life is just going to get even more dysfunctional. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the books. Really enjoyed The Bandit Queens. Did not enjoy Dog of the North. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.